Okay, welcome to this Stampscapes lab experiment here. We're going to be starting off with one of the Deanna Tubbs Cedillo background papers. I love this look right here. I'm always kind of looking at these pieces, I don't know, in different ways, try to open kind of my mind as far as how to maximize this in, I don't know, one setting. I don't know, but different pieces come to mind with something like this. I'm thinking about this kind of misty atmosphere, and it could be like, the ocean or something like that. And there's these I don't know, the mist being kind of illuminated in this kind of aqua green, sea type of thing. But what I also saw here was this could be like this slope of like a hill or something like this. We have the sun breaking through the clouds like this, and I thought it looked like a really happy kind of setting. And Jeannie had from the Stampscapes group, Siegel, stamped out a scene where she used, I think it was Jeannie. It was someone else, I apologize. She used all three of the Kite flyers together, and I thought, okay, that looks really cool to have them all together. I really hadn't thought about them being used all in the same scene. Now, she was doing a much larger scene, and they were in a certain area of it, and I thought, oh, that looks really good. So I thought I would try that here. And I think what I'm going to do is maybe, oh, I was thinking about adding in some other colors into here, or should I just stamp them all out in black and then just color them in? Maybe I should, being that this is a kind of an existing color scheme here. Let's do that. Let's just do them all in black, and I'll go from there. I could also do a photo cutout if I need something to be a different color. You can stamp the same image out on a different piece of paper, color it in, then cut that part out, and then paste it right over the top. Mainly, I was thinking about the kites, doing that with the kites, but I don't know. It might not have to. Let's see what this might look like here. Okay, so this character is there. This one is, I think this guy right here is the smallest. So the largest figure, the closest figure to us, stamps lower, and then the other ones stamp higher. The higher up you go, kind of it represents something a little bit more distant. Usually, that's in a Western perspective in terms of art. Okay, let's see. Let's go about right here. The thing is that when I saw all those figures together, I guess you can do like more of them too. You can do like two of the same figure in different areas. But it reminded me of oh, I don't know if it was every year, but when I was when my kid was in the Cub Scouts, one of the kind of the first icebreaker kind of things for each scout season was I think it was called was it the Kite Jamboree or something like that. Just we show up at some school, and the kids bring their kites and fly them, and that was always kind of fun. It was the beginning of the season, and it was just unstructured. You just kind of show up there with the kites, and everyone's the kids are all out there with their kites. We were hoping for wind, but you never know. Okay, so there we go, like that. Now we're going to give they look like they're just kind of running around in open areas, but we'll add shadows to them. I thought what I would do is I would do those things with the light beams in here. Maybe that would be kind of an interesting dynamic. But I think what I'm going to do, though, I thought on here is we'll give it some grassy textures, and we'll start fleshing in this area and giving it a little bit more of a solid form. And designating it, depicting it as a grassy terrain. And it takes me back to one of the kind of areas that I used to take my son to was this local park, and there's this really pretty decent sized hill there. We'd always go up the hill and kind of run down. And it was a pretty decent hill because they made it the park right on this slope, so it was a really good use of the hill, kind of integrating that in with the whatever the design of the place. All right, so see that right there? It kind of gives us that nice texturing in there. I'm kind of tempted to add in those little rocky areas in here, but I think I want to keep it kind of soft and grassy for the kids. Not add in like these little rocks in here. It'd be good for texture though, but I think maybe not. Let's add a little bit more of a stronger foreground here too, like this. This is supposed to be like something real close to us, and that kids, I don't know, whatever, 10 yards away or something like that. She's not supposed to be running in tall grasses. See, this is lower on the horizon than her, so it represents something closer. Just like that kid isn't like, running on top of the kite or something like that. Okay, let's see. Let's grab some green pencils here, variations of green. And we'll add some of that in here, but what we'll be careful to not do is remove some of these brighter tones in here, or lighter tones, I should say. Well, I guess lighter and brighter. We want to retain a lot of that. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go in and tone in like this, and what I'll do is I'll concentrate a lot of this color and value, darkness, in some of these shadow areas. So on the textures of the grass right in here, the areas where they're darker, we'll add a little bit of darkness into them and just kind of reiterate that whatever shading convention that's in the designs, okay? Now you can just kind of do this lightly. I mean, you can add in as much as you want. But we'll start it off really light at first and just kind of accentuate the existing forms, the existing textures of that grass. Now, I didn't stamp that grass too much in here because I didn't want it to go into the kite, unless I'm doing one of those things where I'm stamping that kite on a different piece of paper and then pasting it right back in there, so it stands out. If the kites can stand out enough as is, I won't do that. If I can make them look kind of bright enough. After all, it's supposed to be kind of a festive moment. The kids wouldn't be flying like I don't know, whatever, gray, black and white kites usually. Kites are usually nice bright color. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in kind of a little bit of a shadow. I'm going to kind of invent it here because the lighting seems to me it's coming from right there. So we'll have these kids kind of casting their shadow in a certain direction. Now this is just the first color of green. Okay, I'll work with different values of it and intensities. Yeah, it's kind of coming around. What we're doing is kind of modeling the hill, right? All right, this is a little bit of a lighter green. Okay, so I'll kind of blend out these darker areas. It could be, you know, where you've added the other color of green. And sometimes I do work from light to dark, okay? But I'm not sure how much layering I could do with these pencils on this paper. I could probably do quite a bit, but just in case, because it is a smooth paper, if I can't build up my tones too much, I want to start off with a little bit of a darker one, just to make sure that I get that shading into the mix before maybe certain areas become too thickly applied with colored pencil, because you're kind of building up like this wax on the surface. And at some point in time, if you try to go wax over wax, it just doesn't seem to transfer on there. We're able to transfer onto these papers because the papers have a little bit of tooth to it, a little bit of texture. Okay, that was lime green. And let's go with this green. It's kind of a pine green, olive green, it says. A little bit more of an earthy green. All right, this is a darker green. The softer your lead is, the easier it is to apply on here. So, sometimes you're working with some colored pencils. Maybe even the first color doesn't go on very easily because it's got a harder. It's not lead, but I'll call it lead, like a pencil. But yeah, it's got like a harder, whatever material on there. The softer it is, the easier it is to transfer on less than porous surfaces. See if this is the sun here. I'm kind of, that shadow's coming out this way, kind of pointing in that direction, and you do it like that. Or it's actually like that. So that shadow right there is kind of going down this way. And then the shadow right here from the bottom of his feet, you see how it matches up with that source of light right there? So it's going this way. Okay, like that. All right, this is black. Let's hit it down here in this shadow of this guy. This girl right here. This other boy right over here. I want to give a little bit more volume to this piece too, so I think I'll be adding in some background trees right on the other side of that ridge. Oh, I just remembered. I think it was called the Kite Derby. Or is that what I said? Yeah, maybe that's what I said. Or did I say Jamboree? Kite Jamboree. Now I'm confused. I'm not sure if it was the Kite Jamboree or the Kite Derby. I think it's Jamboree. I think the Derby was the Pinewood Derby where they make their own cars. Not like a soapbox derby, but these little smaller kind of wooden cars. All right, so you see these kind of these shadows coming out like that? Isn't that fun? All right, let me go grab a. I think the tree cluster's small is the one I'm going to be putting up here, but let's go add some extra trees into the mix. All right, we have the tree cluster small. I'm going to add a bunch of black to this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with maybe not that green. I need to re-ink that. We're going to this green right here. It's a little bit dry. I need to re-ink my pens, which I have a video for on how to do. You just basically open that up right there, and there's this reservoir in here that you can add some re-ink or fluid to. All right, so this tree, we'll put it on the other side of this ridge here. We'll have some of that ridge showing. I mean, the tree could be on the ridge too, but I think I'll put it kind of behind right there. Now, I don't know if this is going to show any of that green or not that I added to it. It was kind of dry, but it might get a little bit of variation. We'll see. Sometimes it's a little bit richer than just stamping it only in black. Oops, that pad was like super dry right there. I think I removed too much ink. We're hitting the drawing board again. Or back to the drawing board. Let's add in a decent amount of black ink now, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and I'll add another tree right here. I'm not sure, I'm just kind of overlapping it, so now I have like a closer tree and a farther tree, so we just got to roll with it here. Now if you're doing this on a, like a Misty or something like that, a stamp position, you can just hit it again. But for me, I just, I rarely go back and try to cover something up. All right, so we have those two trees right there. And then we'll go in here. Let me get a moister pen here. Here we go. I'll try to get multiple tones with one of these impressions. Could have been the mixture too. This is like pigment ink and dye-based ink, where I'm coloring in with a dye-based pen here. It might not have liked that combination, I don't know. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so we have a little bit of green in there. Let's do that. That looks pretty good here. I'll add another bit of green right here. I'll go low this time, right here. And hopefully that real super light one just looks like it's farther back in the distance. So it's like we're creating like, I don't know, 3 layers right here instead of just that one impression that it would have been. Who knows, maybe it looks better. Yeah, actually it kind of does. It's like green, black, and gray right there, so yeah. I was gonna say, let me see if I can get 2 impressions out of it, but this is like a kind of a matte paper, so I probably used up all my ink on that impression. So I'm just inking up here again with the green. and I'll go low right here. And see, I'm stamping just the tips of these trees right here. This is how you really make use of your Stampscapes designs. All of my designs are kind of designed, I won't say all of them, but they're designed to use different portions of them, you know, for different purposes. So you got taller trees out of this one stamp them higher up like that, or just the tips of them, I guess. And you get smaller trees or more distant trees like that, right? Okay, let's see what we can do about getting some color into these kites. Now, I think the best tool is going to be, it could be colored pencils, but I just think we'd be better off going for something a little bit brighter if we can. We'll see. See, I don't know if I can get pink right there because we have all those greens of the paper showing through. This one has a little bit more white in it right there, though. So let's see what we can do here, though. It's not too bad. That pink goes over the green pretty well. Let's go pink and maybe purple or something like that. Yeah, let me go purple. That's her favorite color, pink and purple. Okay, it's not that bright though, huh? Okay, I might be stamping that on a different piece of paper. All right, that is established. Let's go up and do this one. Why don't we do a blue? Let's go like this. Let's go like that. And a couple different quadrants like that, maybe. And for that distant one, let's go with red. It's like a striped red or something like that. But let's see what we can find here for this purple kite. Maybe her dress too. Let me go see if I have like a bright pink piece of paper. Okay, we have this nice and bright piece of pink right here, which I did not have, but thanks to my wife, she had a nice bright piece of pink paper. Guys, we just don't have that color of paper usually. Not that we shouldn't, but I don't know. We just don't. Sometimes. Okay. So I'm stamping out the kite there. And then I think what I'm going to do is stamp out the figure down here like this. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat set this, and then I'm going to cut out a dress and little shirt, and I'm going to cut out just this kite portion right here. I'm not going to bother with the tail. And so we'll have a nice bright pink kite in there, right? And that should do the trick. And that pretty much takes care of this issue of the colors coming through our figures in here. All right, we'll do that, and I'll be right back with that. Okay, let's get these components here glued down. I don't need this tool here. I can just lay it down. So just some simple cutouts like that, and let's see. And you just use the impressions down here for a guide, but see that kind of brightness really shows up like that. But now, I mean, it's a uniform tone like that. So what we can do is we can go in and just kind of enhance it a little bit. Let's see here. I don't know if I have a pink, now that I'm looking at this, that can kind of add to that. There's a little bit of red. This pink is so bright, I wanted it for that reason, but yeah, okay, that looks okay. This red that I'm using on here doesn't look so red. Over the top of the that pink like that. Okay, so we got the right there. I don't know, I just added it down there in the shadow area. Maybe let's add a little bit more right here, just to vary it a touch. Let's see what we can do with this pen here too. Pink. Just kind of adding a little bit of shake that up a little bit more. A little to a lot more. Let's give it a little bit of kind of highlighting. Yeah. That looks a little bit better. It looks a little bit more mottled now. But like in the tones, it's still nice and bright like that. And it really kind of stands out against that that background paper showing through. Okay, so now you got all the strengths of Deanna's paper, but none of the kind of issues if you stamp an open figure over the top of it with like a color that isn't necessarily the color in the background. You just kind of, you can just put a little piece of paper right over the top of it, and it looks really, like super dimensional now and mottled. Okay. Let's see here. Now, I wanted to go in and add kind of a nice carpeting on this hillside. I thought I would do more like a create kind of like a little festive textured area in here. It looks pretty good as grass right now, but I thought when I was doing this, I was thinking, or when I was thinking about it, I thought, I don't, adding that shadow in there is just going to look like real kind of grassy and hillside mottled. And I wasn't quite sure about that, but I think it looks pretty decent, like right now. But let's put a little bit more sparkle into it. The thing is, her skies and everything on there are so dynamic that you can just stamp something over the top of it, and it looks like awesome. But I want to match some of the, just the subtle dynamics of her, detailed areas with kind of like an equal type of application of other types of media on here. So just stuff, it's like we notice this right here, but then if you look closer, these little wisps and, kind of delicate textures in those detailed areas that you can really kind of, if you look closer, oops, what happened here? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sometimes when I zoom in too far, my camera goes out of whack. Okay, there we go. Okay, well, stop right there. So I'm kind of going into areas where this is like a pastel green. So I'm adding this into areas where it doesn't really show up because it's the same kind of color in the background. And then what I do is I bring that out into the darker areas. Okay, so you add it in areas where it's invisible, kind of, or blended in, and then you go into the darker areas. So it's kind of like a, kind of a nice, graceful transition. Now right in here, it's kind of the same value, so it's not going to really show up, but it might show up like right here in the darker area, like that. All right, here's I don't know, it's like a pastel yellow or something. Yellow, it's almost like a fluorescent. It's a little bit lighter. And then let's go in and add in some little white marks. So this one's actually a big one. A little dandelions or something like that, or clover, I should say. Right, so that kind of make it look, kind of more festive and fun for the kids, maybe. Maybe there's a little bit of wildflowers in the field, as the grasses as well. So we'll add a little bit of that into there. And that kind of puts another little element of that pink into the terrain like that. And it gets a little bit more colorful and festive for the kids. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry, And then we'll go in and I'm kind of thinking about those light beams in here. It might look pretty cool with those kites in the air like that. We'll figure it out. All right, we're nice and dry. Let's add in a little bit of atmosphere, then we'll think about going and adding some light beams. I think it could look kind of cool, but we'll see. Adding in this little light and mist in the distance. See that kid right back there is kind of like in the lighting a little bit more. Okay, let's see. So that is my light source right there. I think this could be pretty dynamic with some light beams coming across in here. Let's go ahead and try that out. Let's bring in kind of Deanna's background into the foreground right here. So we're utilizing her kind of lighting convention. We're going to introduce it right in here. Okay, so it's real subtle, but I think that's the like the light source right there. She's made it where, I mean, you can kind of change things up, you know? So they're real kind of versatile. Let's get this light beam kind of running like that. And you want to use the same point of kind of emanation here. So you have the same vanishing point. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I didn't like draw one in there just, you know, to remember it. But, you know, kind of if you're in the, you know, pretty much the vicinity of it. You don't want to be off by like a 1/4 inch, but, you know, if you can get that point right there, because you want all these beams to be coming from the same area. I'm going to go over the kite a little bit, I think, right here. I was thinking about putting it behind the kite, but maybe the kite should be kind of right in the stream of light. Maybe that would be interesting. Like that, where it's kind of going right over that front of that kite like that. Okay, kind of like that. And let's do one more. Over where? Let me see. Let's do a real kind of pale one over this way. Let's do that. It's kind of subtle right there. Then I'll just kind of go back and kind of soften out this, soften the area around those beams. I'm putting it a little bit more on the tops of those trees too, where it looks just a little brighter now. Because we have these beams, so we're saying that the light is kind of brighter. So I'm kind of washing out some of these trees a little bit more. Okay. Just so it looks like a little bit more brilliant. Brilliant with Brilliance ink. All right, we have that there. That's kind of fun. And I'm thinking about like a word stamp up here, just like a single word stamp if it fits. Maybe like dream or something like that would be fun. All right, we're gonna go with dream. It's like a little dream scenario. Forgive my head. I'll try to get that lined up decently right there. It's like heaven on earth, you know, kids out on a spring day having a great time in a great setting. Nothing funner to watch than like kids having like a really good time. Screaming, yelling, you know. Okay, I'm going to put some white into this kite right here. In some of my early videos, you hear like kids, my son and his friends kind of yelling in the background. But I never told them to be quiet even when I was doing these videos because I knew that wasn't going to last for very long, and I'd kind of miss hearing that. So it got pretty loud at times. In the best way. All right, a few more little sparkly flowers there on that hillside. It's not a great representation of spring right there. Kids out with their kites amongst kind of a wildflower and clover kind of park slope or something like that. Let's get this formatted. I'll dry this out a little bit. We'll get this formatted into a card and let's see what this looks like. All right, there we go. With another one of Deanna's cool background papers integrated in here. This green portion down here into this hillside. It evoked kind of this notion of the kids coupled with seeing Jeannie's grouping of multiple kite flyers like that. So kind of a collaborative piece right here, both in terms of medium, well, the surface, and another person's idea of compositional arrangements. And this is my version of it here, kind of all wrapped into one with kind of inspiration coming from different angles. All right, so anyway, hope you like the card. And thanks so much for the papers and ideas out there. And yeah, spring is here. Thanks for watching.